All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's James Black from the Canadian Securities Exchange and welcoming you to CSE Tech Tuesdays, Public Company Showcase 2.0. And today's focus is on auto technology. So if you like cars and the things that make them run, there is no better place to be than right here, right now on Tech Tuesday. Before I introduce today's moderator, I just wanted to give our sponsor a shout out today. It's CSE TV. So I'll put it in the chat room up above here on the right of your screen. CSE TV is where you can catch all of the Tech Tuesday replays. You can catch this session tomorrow if you miss it or want to share it. And I recommend you subscribe because it's a great channel full of great shows, including myself and Barrington, who host a regular show on Thursdays, and of course, Tech Tuesdays. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our moderator, Mr. Barrington Miller. And as he pops up, I'm going to just allude to the fact that you won't see her today, but Grace Pedota will be our intro MC next week. And then Mark Francis as well, our colleague, will be emceeing the proceedings. So if you missed either of them or you want to see Grace do this next week, tune in. And you'll know Grace because she's on all the thumbnail images for Tech Tuesday and does a lot of hard work behind the scenes. So Barrington, without further ado, let me hand over the microphone to you. You're far more capable than I am at the MC gig. And
just happy to be here, James. And thanks
of course. All right. Well, good luck. Good luck today.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us live today. As you know, Tech Tuesdays happens every Tuesday, and typically it features private companies, but once a month on the first Tuesday, we will feature public companies. And today being September 1st, can't believe it already is, we are featuring two CSE listed companies. Our objective of running Tech Tuesday is twofold. One, it's to help technology companies increase visibility and awareness, and two, it is to help the capital markets professionals, the capital markets ecosystem, learn and know about our companies. So as far as the attendees, we do ask that you share your ideas and feedback with the presenters, including leads, possible funding, after due diligence, all of those things. You can find their information on the chat board. With respect, we might refrain from giving management advice unless we are truly experts in the company's particular field, and don't treat our presenting companies as marketing targets for your services. Yes, regarding the chat board, please keep it clean, keep it serious questions only, if you don't mind. Today's presentations will run between 8 and 10 minutes each, and I think that's all the housekeeping items. Let's get to our presenting companies. Today we have Greg James, the Chief Operating Officer of Aether Catalyst Solutions Inc., and George Palikaras is the Founder, President, and CEO of Metamaterial, listed on the CSE under symbol MMAT. Today we are going to start with Greg James. Greg, if you're there.
Right.
How you doing?
Hi, very good.
Brief intro about Greg. He's the COO for Aether Catalyst Solutions. He is the former Chief of Engineering at Ballard Power Systems with over 25 years of experience bringing new technology to market. Yeah, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Barrington. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and thanks for this opportunity to present what we're doing over at Aether Catalyst Solutions. Really, our mission statement boils down to is that we're trying to provide significant cost reduction in automotive catalytic converter catalyst while meeting or exceeding our government emission standards. So I thought it might be good to just highlight, remind people what a catalytic converter is. So when an internal combustion engine fires, it actually combines the fuel and the air in an explosion, and you get lots of power, but you also get some stuff that you don't really like the nitrous oxides, unburned hydrocarbons, and CO. These are all pollutants and greenhouse gases that need to be reduced. So in the 70s, they brought in regulations to do that, and the way they did it is with a catalytic converter. And inside these catalytic converters, they contain metals such as palladium, platinum, and rhodium. Now, as the industry has gone along since the 70s, basically what we've been seeing is that the regulations have been getting stricter and stricter, and that has meant more palladium and rhodium, especially palladium and rhodium, are being used. And that has driven the price of those metals up that were high to really high. For an example, palladium was sitting at $1,700-$1,800 an ounce, and rhodium has been up to $6,000-$7,000 an ounce. So with the added material needed and then the cost going up, the catalytic converter, due to this precious metal catalyst, has actually become one of the most expensive components in the vehicle. Aether comes in. We basically are addressing a $16 billion precious metal market based off 2020, and that's for gasoline-powered motors. And so we're looking to reduce that cost by upwards of 90%, which is great for the OEM car companies, because that puts that savings right into their bottom line, which is a huge thing in the auto industry. We also are focused more so on four-stroke gasoline engines, but that can be from trucks, cars, motorbikes, and also small motor applications. And I'll talk about small motor applications because it's a recent interest of ours. Generally, from our performance point of view, we're looking pretty good at the beginning of life versus incumbent catalytic converters. The one thing that's always been kind of an issue with non-precious metal catalysts for catalytic converters is aging. And so that's one thing that we really done a good job in here, is being able to handle the harsh accelerated aging conditions of 900C. The supply chain is very easy to integrate, except if you're one of the mining guys who are mining platinum and palladium and rhodium. But the rest of the chain, it's going to be pretty seamless, we envisioned. And of course, underpinning all our development is that we've had feedback from, on the way on our journey of two major automotive car companies. And that's really helped us develop the technology and get us into these last few requirements that we need to hit. One of the things we're really proud at Aether is actually our ability to innovate and to move our technology pretty quickly. So when I started in 2015, we needed to get a high beginning of life green conversion. And to do that, we used some of our own specific test conditions because we could see the inside the chemistry, and we could iterate our chemistry really quick. And doing that, to get a thermally stable catalyst at 800 degrees C. But feedback from the car guy said, no, we really do need the 900C to make sure we have the right accelerated aging factors. So we revamped our technology in 2018. We upped it to 900C, could handle that, was thermally stable. We were getting close enough that we started introducing industry standard test methods as opposed to our own specific conditions. It was easy to translate for the car companies. In 2018, we started adding water, because water is a byproduct, of course, of combustion, and also to do rich lean cycling. And what we found is that we took a big hit in performance, but again, true to nature, we were able to understand the problem and move it forward. So at the end of 2019, we were actually seeing quite good thermally stable, rich lean aging results, and we're seeing the results under industry standard test methods. So very happy with where that catalyst has got to. And again, the feedback from the OEMs is that there's just a few refinements they'd like to see, but it's something that we were pretty happy to get there that quickly. As I mentioned before, one of the other things that we looked at is that, why the automotive industry has one of the strictest emission requirements. There's other industries that will have a lower requirement level. And we decided to take a look at one of those, specifically the small motor market, because it will be an easier market from a life perspective to get into. So when we started investigating, we started realizing that 5% of urban or a very significant amount of urban pollution comes from small motor exhaust. And really, it's only regulated to the point where they can tune their engines, but they don't actually need to put a catalytic converter on there. We all recognize that there's a lot of push to improve the environmental issues, especially in the urban areas. And so we're starting to see governments are aggressively looking for ways to reduce this pollution. And we even got feedback from an OEM, small motor OEM, that says that regulations are probably coming somewhere in the 2023, 2024 timeframe that will require catalytic converters. So this is a good opportunity for us to get our low-cost technology. It will be really good in the small motor market because there's not a lot of cost that they want to add to the engines. And so we're starting to take a look at the technology we have and then starting to introduce that into our into this application. So really, just to summarize quickly, one of the things I think we've done a really good job as a company is demonstrated and built an aptitude for when we see a problem, being able to figure out very creatively how to address it and how to address it quick. We've made a number of big issues that held back our non-PGM catalysts in other people's development work, to the point now where we have a pretty good non-performing PGM that's pretty close to overcoming. And we still have a few remaining barriers on that massive automotive market, but they are being addressed. And also, we made the decision as an early point to try to commercialize earlier as we were looking at the small motor market, because we believe that our low-cost technology would be an ideal fit, especially as we think the regulations are going to be changing in the near future. And then finally, we are currently conducting a non-brokered financing. So if you have interest, please come and talk to us, or we'd love to show you our investor deck and talk to you further about it. So that's about it.
Well, that was great. You came in under time. Great information. So I want to say thank you, and hopefully everyone found that useful. Don't worry, if you have questions for Greg, he will be back in the Inquisition phase of Tech Tuesday. Sorry, I'm going to just turn off my alarm because it's going to interrupt me. Next up, we have George Palikaras. He is the founder, president, and CEO of Metamaterial, proudly listed on the CSE, symbol MMAT. George earned a PhD in Metamaterials UK, as well as completed the Stanford University Executive Education Program, and is an Endeavor entrepreneur. George started Meta 10 years ago and has led it through various rounds of funding in multiple industries and government partners, as well as market investments that has led Meta to a CSE listing in March of this very unusual, very crazy year. Under George's leadership, Meta has raised over $60 million from the development of its tech platform, proprietary first-of-its-kind manufacturing, and multiple Fortune 500 global partnerships. Without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's great to be on the show. So Meta is a smart materials and photonics company, and we are changing the way we use, interact, and benefit from light and other forms of energy. And that's in our tagline. So our company has developed a platform technology, and we have a very interesting approach to new material discovery. We use software. Unlike our competition, which uses chemistry, we have a very large speed advantage. What takes others months and sometimes years, we do it in hours with our advanced software. And what takes others multiple millions of dollars to get incremental benefits, we can do in the course of running our software to develop and innovate, but also to create new material solutions, which I'll describe over the course of the next few slides. And that has resulted in a very large patent portfolio. So we have close to 100 patents and growing. Just this year, we have added 11 granted patents in various areas across the world, multiple applications for both manufacturing methodology as well as the applications. As was mentioned, we have some very large blue chip aviation and automotive customers who are co-investing alongside our scale-up. We have experienced a market pool. I will talk about a couple of applications where we have, with minimal marketing effort, been able to address some very large marketing and market opportunities. We also target, this is our filter, products and solutions that can offer us more than 50% margin with room to grow through economies of scale. So who we are. So I mentioned that we are driven by software. So what does that mean? So you all may know that almost every great advancement in technology can be attributed to a breakthrough in material science. So if you think of the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, they're all taking advantage of the new tools for writing or irrigation or warfare, and basically was capable of manipulating those raw materials to start with. The Industrial Revolution, and even most recently in the last 60 years, we're living through the digital age. And thanks to that, I'm presenting to you today, that was all down to the invention of the transistor about 60 years ago. So semiconductor materials entered our lives, and the means to manipulate their properties gave us the incredible digital age we live in. So we are now beginning this new revolution in material science. This is driven by the invisible world of nanotechnologies. This, in conditional of software developments and AI, allows us to design new materials and metamaterials like never before. Meta means to go beyond, and we design, manufacture functional, and emphasis on the word functional. So we have properties that we can program through software, and that will result through our advanced manufacturing capabilities into products that are typically flat, typically printed on plastic films or directly on glass, that then can then integrate it in any other surface. For example, a window of a car or a headlight, or even a car seat and a steering wheel. And those functionalities are important for all automakers. They want EMI shielding, transparent windows that can defog and de-ice. They want to protect all the sensors that are currently being integrated in electric vehicles, for instance. And they want to make sure that those sensors operate at maximum efficiency. They want to integrate even solar cells on the roofs of cars or aircraft or even trucks. So we have solutions that can enable all these innovations from the OEMs, achieving more performance at lower cost with sustainable materials. And I'll come to that in a second. I'll give you an example here. So we have developed Nanoweb, one of our branded products. Nanoweb is a revolutionary transparent metal mesh that you can see here on the bottom left side of the picture. It's a conductive film that offers the highest transparency, more than 95%, the highest conductivity, about 1 ohm per square, and it's printed on flexible or rigid substrates. This means that it can be integrated in almost anything. If you power it, it becomes an antenna for 5G communications. If you put even more power, you can make it into a transparent heater to defog or even de-ice. Compared to the other solutions out there, for example, indium, which is a rare earth metal, where it's a uniform coating, not patterned like our stuff, you see a very large difference in the power need to actually achieve the same result. We would be able to handle about 10 kilowatts of power per square meter of our product, whereas in indium, you would be hardly able to reach 1,000 watts. And compared to the studies that we have done and the analysis, we have shown that, you can see the circle here, we are on the top left side, which means that we have the highest transparency and conductivity combined. This results in a $1 billion plus serviceable market opportunity, where we're coming to become the incubator technology replacing indium tin oxide in a very large range of applications that go even beyond the automotive applications. But staying on the topic of sustainability, this is where we believe we are getting ahead from any other one of our competitors. We have shown that we can produce up to a 40x performance improvement compared to the incumbent technologies, whilst offering sustainable and cost-effective benefits, using zero rare earth metals, using common commodity, I would say, metals like copper and alumina, we can outperform the thicker rare earth equivalent, saving massive amounts of cost for the OEM. And some examples here are from diffractive optics to head-up displays, and more recently using Nanoweb for defogging and de-icing. Electric vehicles, as you know, are governed by weight. Weight is a big factor. You want to add a piece of metal. You don't want to add more weight. Our metals are typically in the order of thickness of 500 nanometers. As a result, there's a minimum weight increase. And in fact, our films are so efficient that they're actually allowing the OEMs to now remove the ductwork and reduce the size of the ventilation, the HVAC motor, saving between 30 to 40 kilograms of weight. This is so disruptive that it will allow to eliminate the ventilation that comes from the inside of the car window, all the way to basically replacing it with a Nanoweb solution in the future, and that to incorporate antennas to communicate, for example, for 5G information, touchscreens where you have the same material embedded over a display and you can use it as a touch point, or even dimmable mirrors, electrochromic mirrors on the inside. So the applications range for any basically transparency. We have major beta revenues coming in with a number of global partners. As we go to market and scale this, the thing that is right now in our mind and my mind every day is how can I capture more market, scale my production. We are typically spending today less than 5% of our sources for R&D. We are now past the R&D phase. The technology platform is very mature. We have patented our manufacturing technologies and methodologies, and we're now working with partners in the marketplace to achieve scale. And scale for us means going to a 1.5 meter roll-to-roll system that allows us to move more than just the automotive market into medical, solar, and consumer electronics. Thank you very much.
So let's, I'm going to start with Aether. Lifespan of the product. Is there one? And if so, what is it? For our audience, some of these questions have been either written in or delivered to us. So just so you know where they're coming from. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, for sure. There's definitely a lifetime. Typically, they're targeting a catalyst inside the catalytic converter to run the lifetime of the car, and that's typically going to be somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000 miles, depending on which jurisdiction you're in. So it can change. Different jurisdictions have different emission requirements and different length, but it's somewhere in the 100,000 to 150,000 mile range.
This one is a question for both of you, and it's a pretty common one. It's the differentiation between your company and your competitors. Let's go to Metamaterials first.
A great question. Differentiation comes in different shapes and sizes for us. I mentioned sustainability is one of the top differentiations. Maybe people don't realize, but the car is one of the most sustainable industries. More than 95% of a car gets recycled. So when you introduce new technologies, you have to bear in mind how do you have that end of life cycle. So sustainability means for us not using rare earth metals, using commodity metals, but without losing the performance. When we show our customers that we can achieve an up to 40x improvement, there is, let's say, magic happening in the boardroom on the other side that allows us to basically come very close to the innovation and design teams and build some new products together with our partners and basically capture a market without really having a direct competitor to work against.
And what is your differentiator for Aether Capitalist or Aether?
Yeah, I think for sure, like for our big one is off the top is cost. So we're looking at a 90% cost reduction when we take a look at the differences between precious metals and our commodity-based materials. I always like to point out that we're replacing stuff that costs thousands of dollars per ounce with stuff that costs tens of dollars per pound. So right off the top, that gets the automotive attention. We've heard stories where they'll spend millions of dollars to take 25, 50 cents out of a fender. We're talking about taking hundreds of dollars out of the catalytic converter. And then on top of that, in the small motor market right now, there's a significant portion of urban pollution happening with lawnmowers and pressure washers and gensets that doesn't need a catalytic converter. But one of the reasons we think there isn't a catalytic converter is that the lobbying group was really pushing hard because of the cost of the PGM would be in a catalytic converter. So though that we don't have a direct competitor there, the direct competitor is that that we have pollution and we have a solution that can take away some of that pollution.
I want to talk a little bit about governments. Are you talking with any governments, either one of you, for implementing some of their environmental policies or anything related to that?
So maybe I'll start. So with our focus on that's probably one of the more regulated industries, especially the emissions. That is very much a very regulated emissions, not only in North America but across the globe. So there's really nothing that we could add into that because they're already doing that. But what we see is that we are going to probably get a little bit more active when it comes around to the small motor, where the emission requirements are still quite lax in comparison to what the automotive requirements are. And one of the things that we're seeing in governments is, for an example, North Vancouver here on the West Coast made a decree of a climate emergency. Like there's definitely that need and that desire for the politicians and to try to improve pollution. And so we want to fit into that, and we want to help push that agenda. So to your point, I think that we're going to be becoming active in there, saying, hey, there is a solution for this urban pollution, and why aren't we doing something to regulate it and to reduce that issue?
George, are you talking with any governments that you're allowed to say?
So I would say that we are part of policy group initiatives to offer our expert voice as the policymakers develop new policies that govern, for example, autonomous vehicles and assisted functions or automated functions, driver assist features. And as you know, safety is one of the biggest challenges in any industry, especially that's mobile. So as you may have heard, the ADAS system, we are looking at an age of increasingly more autonomous functions. You have, for example, Volvo did a study where they showed that autonomous brake systems showed a 20% less rear-end collisions than with cars without the technology. So when you have sensors built into cars, they have to function as close to perfect as possible. They have to function in all weather conditions. They should also be, let's say, not ugly. At the end of the day, the car has aesthetics to worry about. And this is where we can play a role by being that expert voice and guiding policies that will impact all our lives in the future.
Doesn't it seem like what aesthetics really, does that play a big part into like everything else you both of you have talked about, is really, really important. But is aesthetics, does that have a place in developing this kind of new technology?
Sure, I can take that and say that absolutely yes. So designers of the automotive industry have all the freedom to design anything that their heart desires. You see them in automotive car shows. You have the concept cars, and then what happens from the concept car to the production car, there is always shifts and changes. Tesla has been one of the top companies that has followed through. You had a cool design that actually was what you get on the other side when you purchase it. And I think that this is shifting the idea of having a car that looks like a square box. That is no longer, let's say, viable when it comes to the millennials who want choice, who want to customize, and now they can do it in sitting in their couch with their iPad, and they can select all the features and all the cool stuff, the colors, etc. And as you probably can guess, COVID is going to also change those buyer habits. So what we see and what we experience may totally govern how we select downstream, the car of choice, the next car for our family, etc.
You actually just gave me a talking point, which I'm leading to my next question for Aether. COVID, has that changed your business plan, your game plan, going forward over the next 6 months to 1 year to 3 years? Actually, both of you can answer, but go ahead, Aether, first.
Yeah, it's actually interesting you bring that up. Is that is kind of one of the other reasons why we've also put more attention into the small motor market. One of the OEMs that we were talking to is actually they had closed down their catalytic converter, the catalyst test lab. So we were talking about sending samples out there, and then they said, well, we're not going to be doing anything in that lab until the fall, if then. So give us a call then. So it kind of, it's not necessarily inside our building because we still have managed to keep our lab going at the same speed that we were going before. But that was a really good reminder that COVID does have an external factor to us where other people do have some restrictions and changes, and that can have an impact on us. So that's one of the reasons why we decided, it's not such a bad time to bring in the small motors and to get a little bit more focus on there so that we have a little bit more control of our destiny going forward.
I wanted to talk about the the overall just things getting smaller. As you know, we're up until COVID, world population is increasing. More and more people are getting cars. The size of cars are getting smaller. Everything else seems to be getting smaller. Are you finding that not only for the type of machineries like, I don't know, lawnmowers or snowblowers, but actually cars? Like, is this a trend? Is this a factor in your business going forward? Let's go with Aether.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I think packaging is always kind of inside a designer's mind. There's always that trade-off between volume and cost. So the one thing is with us is like in the car industry is we're targeting to be just a replacement for the existing unit. So we're not looking to decrease the size. We're looking at matching the size. We believe that with the cost reduction that we're talking about, if they had to make the size a little bit better, reshape their packaging to meet to allow us to expand a little bit, that they would. But for sure, packaging is always going to be a concern. The small motors as well is that right now there's a muffler on the end of the motor, and we would likely have to have our unit that's going to be the same size as that muffler or fairly close to that. So you always have to take the size into account. I don't think it needs to be necessarily smaller to be for us to make it into the market. We need to meet the regulations and the small motors improve on it. Packaging is probably not. It's something that we have to keep in our heads, but it's not something that's super going to drive our solution.
I want to thank our audience for listening and for staying and for watching and listening. If you want to or need to contact the companies, I think the information is appearing below or to the right. I want to thank our guest, Greg James. and George Palikaras from Aether and from Metamaterial. And there's a note that says I'm supposed to thank the moderator, so I will thank myself, Barrington Miller from the Canadian Securities Exchange. If you have any questions, you can contact Greg or George, or you can contact the CSE. Visit our website, www.thecse.com. And without further ado, I'm bringing our real host, James Black, to wrap things up.
Barrington, thank you. I was just going to say in the comments, we do have a post to an interview that our colleague Anil Mall had hosted with Greg James and Paul Woodward from Aether Catalyst. And it's a good deep dive on the company, on where it's been, where it's going. And obviously, George, we got to get you on one of our shows for a deeper dive as well. So CSE TV, hit the link above, subscribe. You'll get this session. We'll cut out the sound at the end, but we'll make sure that you have all the good stuff. And then we'll get some more content with both these gentlemen for you. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you again to CSE TV for hosting the content and the Canadian Securities Exchange. We certainly appreciate your time today watching. And have a great Labor Day. We'll see you next week. We've got another session. We're here every Tuesday, so hopefully you can come and join us then. And that's it. Gentlemen, have a great day. And thanks, Grace. And we'll see you all very soon.